With the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon, we also saw the release of Ultra Beasts, which make up some of the strongest Pokemon that we have ever seen. These Pokemon aren't technically considered legendary Pokemon, but similar to legendary Pokemon, they have high base stat totals and they're pretty freaking good. You have the insanely fast Formosa, Zerkachu with 173 special attack and tail glow, Celesteela with insane bulk, just to name a few. They all got the insane ability Beast Boost, which is essentially a Moxie for that Pokemon's highest stat. And then there is the Ultra Beast Guzzlord, which is the worst Ultra Beast as well as one of the worst Pokemon in the game. If you guys are unfamiliar, in this series, we'll take a look at some of the worst Pokemon in the game and discuss if they are completely useless or if they have some sort of viable use. Each Pokemon will be rated on a scale 1 to 5 based on their offense, defense, versatility, move pool, and overall viability. If a Pokemon doesn't excel in any of these categories, then it is deemed to be one of the worst Pokemon. If one of the Pokemon discussed in this series happens to be one of your favorite Pokemon, I do apologize, but just because a Pokemon is your favorite doesn't mean that it is safe from being one of these videos. If you guys enjoy this and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe and leave a like, and let me know in the comments down below what Pokemon you want to see featured on this series in the future, and don't forget to check out the full playlist in the description to see what Pokemon have been featured so far. So to give an overview on Guzzlord, Guzzlord's only ability is Beast Boost, and it is a Dark and Dragon type Pokemon. Guzzlord has a stat distribution of a whopping 223 in HP, 101 attack, 53 defense, 97 special attack, 53 special defense, and 43 speed. That HP stat is pretty insane, and those attack stats really aren't horrible. But if you compare it to other Ultra Beasts, Guzzlord is pretty underwhelming. It also doesn't help the fact that every other Ultra Beast is either in Uber or in the OU tier, while this thing is in NU. Now let's take a look at some of the positives. Guzzlord has 223 HP. Like I've said in the past, whenever a Pokemon in this series has a stat over 100, that's amazing. Having a stat over 200 is really cool. 223 HP, that's pretty good. It also has the ability Beast Boost, which is a great ability. It can boost its attack stat, boost its special attack stat, depending on what you have invested. Not that bad. And like I said earlier, decent attack stats, 101 and 97 are its attack stats, really not the worst. It has decent coverage as well, and you also have some pretty fat subs with this thing. If you have max HP and you go for a sub, that's going to be a pretty fat sub that you're sitting behind. It also has the move Stopping Tantrum, which is a pretty unique move. Not many Pokemon get it. Basically what it does is if a Pokemon goes for a move the turn prior and fails, then you go for Stopping Tantrum, it doubles in power. I just thought it was something cool to mention. You'll probably never run it, but I'm still considering it a positive because I think it's a cool move. And now on to the negatives. Although you do have that really high HP stat of 223, you do still have pretty low defenses. Now the HP stat does mitigate that a bit, but you still take a lot of damage. It also has a low speed stat, which I mean, it's not that bad because it's a bulky Pokemon, but it is definitely a negative. Guzzlord also has a pretty bad defensive typing of Dragon and Dark. You are 4 times weak to Fairy. Even if you're max Spadef, you really can't take Fairy hits, and you're weak to Ice, you're weak to Dragon, you're weak to a lot of things that you really shouldn't be weak to when you're a defensive Pokemon. Guzzlord also has a pretty shallow move pool. Like, it has okay coverage, and moving on to the next point, it also has not many utility options. It has a relatively shallow move pool and has virtually no utility options, which make it a really weird bulky Pokemon, because traditionally you look at other bulky Pokemon like Skarmory, like Celesteela, like Cresselia, they also have some sort of recovery move, they also have some sort of setup move, they all have spikes or stealth rocks, something like that. This Pokemon doesn't have any of that, has no reliable recovery, not even Leech Seed. It's kind of a weird Pokemon. You know, it is a Pokemon based off Gluttony, which is one of the 7 deadly sins, so you would think it would get some sort of move that involves eating and healing it up, maybe like Milk Drink or something like that, because like I said, it is Gluttony, but it doesn't get any recovery move, which doesn't really make any sense to me based on what it's based off of. And for the last negative, besides the HP stat, the other stats don't really stand out. The attack stats are okay, defense stats are pretty bad, the HP stat is okay like I said, and the speed stat is just low, so other than HP, you're really not that impressive. So how to make Guzzlord better? Give it reliable recovery. Like I said earlier, Guzzlord is the gluttonous Pokemon. It would kind of make sense to have Milk Drink, and it would make it a lot better to have reliable recovery. And for the next point, leading on to the first point, more utility options. Now you do have moves like Substitute, but it would be really nice to have things to go behind that sub because you have pretty fat subs and really nothing you can do with it. Would be nice to see this thing maybe get Stealth Rock, something like that, maybe Thunder Wave, that would be kind of cool. Another way I think Guzzlord could be better is if you give it slightly less HP and increase its defenses, that wouldn't be too bad. Even if this thing had like 150 HP and then defenses of like 80, I feel like that'd be a lot better. And another point, similar to Heatmore, which we featured last week, instead of being a mix attacker, just make one of the attack stats significantly stronger than the other. doesn't really help it that it can be a mix attacker. It doesn't really matter that much. If it just had one attack set that was better than the other, then that would be a lot better. And for the last point, maybe a different typing. Dragon Dark really isn't the best defensive typing in my opinion. I'm just personally not a fan of defensive Pokemon having a 4x weakness, and I feel like a different typing would be nice. Maybe just even Mono Dark would be cool, because I feel like this thing, if you look at it, it definitely looks like a Dark type. And now onto the ratings. For offense, I will give Guzzlord a 2 out of 5. To be fair, Guzzlord really isn't that horrible in the lower tiers, and it does have okay attack stats with not the worst coverage, so I guess that warrants a 2. I feel like Guzzlord isn't too far off for getting a 3, so its offenses really aren't the worst thing we've seen in the series so far. For defense, I will have to give Guzzlord a 3 out of 5, mainly just because of that HP stat. Its typing really isn't that great, it does have low defenses, but you gotta give respect to that 223 HP stat. For versatility, I will give Guzzlord a 1 out of 5. There really isn't much Guzzlord can do. Like I said earlier, it doesn't really have many utility options. Really the best thing you can do is just run 4 offensive attacks or sub 3 attacks. There really isn't much creativity in that department. Guzzlord also has a pretty shallow move pool, so I will give it a 2 out of 5. You do have some okay coverage options on the physical and special side with Crunch, Fire Blast, Rock Slide, Poison Jab, Hammer Arm, Sludge Wave, just to name a few. But for a bulky Pokemon, you have such little utility and pretty low defenses which hold Guzzlord back. And for viability, I will give Guzzlord a 1 out of 5. If you really want a low tier dragon type, there are far better options with Pokemon like Druddigon or Tyrantrum. And if you just want a generic low tier Pokemon that's pretty bulky, use something like Miltank or Kofagrigus. Those are both very, very good Pokemon. They're not that similar to Guzzlord, but they are bulky Pokemon and they are just better all around. And that is Guzzlord. I think it's pretty safe to say that Guzzlord is by far the worst Ultra Beast, and it's honestly one of the worst Pokemon in the game. Let me know in the comments down below what Pokemon I want to see featured in this series in the future. And don't forget to check out the full playlist link in the description. Also, let me know in the comments what you think of Guzzlord, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new. Have a good rest of your day. I will see you guys next time, and bye-bye.